It's my honor to introduce the Reverend Bill Tankersley to speak. In this time, we want to talk a little bit about what the 35 years of Restore Hope have looked like. Bill and Joe Harris, who's actually also here, the Director of Communications in the Oklahoma Conference and Assistant to the Bishop, Joe and Bill were on our earliest board back in 1978. And Bill is currently a pastor at Boston Avenue United Methodist Church, and I'd like for him to speak just a little bit about what those early years were like. Bill?
Well, in the early years, 35 years ago, I was pastor out at St. Stephen's United Methodist Church, and when I first came there, I had a mustache, only it was brown, the hair was brown. We had district preachers' meetings once a month. And at those district preachers' meetings, we often dealt with problems and frustrations, and one of the big ones was with pastors. Invariably, it would be a Friday afternoon when you're trying to finish that sermon and get the order of service ready and all the details. Somebody's knocking at the door needing help, and you want to be responsive and try to help, but you don't have the social work skills to kind of process all that needs to be processed to truly help somebody. But when they arrive at their door, at your door, they have exhausted all their resources, and it doesn't matter what the problem is, the answer to the problem is, we need money. Well, to be a pastor, you want to be a good steward of the money that's a part of the church. And it's very hard to do that. And so all of the pastors would be sharing our frustrations with the latest situations, and the district preachers meeting and said, we ought to do something. Let's do some way to pool our resources so that we can send the money someplace and not have these people going through the phone book calling each church trying to get help, or wasting, the legitimate folks in need, wasting their resources driving from church to church to church to church to try to get the help. If there's one place they can go and all the resources are there and the people who have the need. Today, I had to help with a funeral service in North Tulsa but between that appointment and this one, actually I got the call on my cell phone on vibration while I was in that service. I checked, I called back. It's a girl calling, domestic violence. She's scared to death of the husband. She needs a little more money to buy one more night at the hotel, hiding from the husband. I don't know whether this is a true story or not. There's no way to check it out. Who do you call? What are the resources? So I thought, I'm coming to restore hope. I can't say, no, I'm busy, leave me alone. So I drive to Motel 6, and I hear her story more and counsel with her a while, pay her one more night out of my money, and then she wants me to say a prayer with her. I didn't put it on her. She's asking for this help. And so, anyway, so that's where we went, because we get these all the time, right in the middle of our busy time. Out of that time, it became very apparent that if we're going to help these folks, they need more than just that money. They need help with life skills and walking their way through this network of agencies. And so we also found that we had churches in the area where these folks were coming from, and those churches needed to be supported and strengthened in order to be able to help those folks in their community instead of having to go to agencies. So we started having task forces. How can we develop and strengthen the churches in the areas where folks are hurting. And then another thing we learned, that there were a very, very high percentage of Native Americans who were having trouble. We had learned that in the World War II era, bukus of folks went to California to work. That disrupted the family life and the culture of the Native Americans, and so folks were kind of had a lost generation. They didn't have the grandparents helping to raise them. And so, anyway, so we had a lot of folks there, so we realized we need to help our Oklahoma Missionary Conference churches as well. So we developed a task force there. And so it became apparent this is evolving and growing, and there are more needs in this area that the church needs to address, and they haven't been addressing it. And so this ministry grows, and that's how we got started.